My name is Tyler Olsson. I am the University Program Director at Mousebelt, and I am here today with Jeremy and Michael. How you guys doing?
Good.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having us.
Right on. Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you here and to help us think about how we might reimagine 2020 going forward. So maybe to get us started, I'm interested to hear y'all's background. What sort of got you into the crypto space and blockchain, and what specifically interests y'all about distributed ledger technology and just really the whole shebang there? What's going on?
Yeah, Mike, I'll let you take the floor, Buckaroo.
All right. So undergrad, I studied political science, and I've always wanted to get more involved in public policy and foreign policy, and just seeing how the systems have been evolved in the past, 20, 30 years when it comes to legislation, whether here in America or abroad in other developing countries. I've seen there's either a lot of corruption or there is a lot of bureaucracy slowing things down. So learning more about blockchain has helped me understand how the future could be shaped and molded, and being transparent and open when it comes to supply chain and just in general, even with voting. But initially, my interest derived from attempting to help people from a policy standpoint. And after attending a couple of conferences, it kind of helped me realize, what this technology can do long term, whether it's with the remittance industry, helping people send and receive money overseas, or creating transparent ways for businesses to communicate. So I'd say from an academic perspective was what really brought blockchain into light for me.
That's interesting. I wonder what you think about the roots of Bitcoin and of cryptocurrency being non-academic. Do you think that that's a conflict, or do you think that it sort of undermines the fundamental tenets of where this thing started out?
So it's really interesting you mentioned it being non-academic, even though it is. But the core philosophies that Bitcoin is backed by is fully studied in many different schools of thought. So I think even though this wasn't publicly announced or researched or created by an institution, it was created by people, and we are the ones that are collaborators and formers of institutions. So in a unique way, I I do believe that even though Bitcoin wasn't particularly academic or built as that kind of a route, its philosophy definitely is.
Great. Thanks. Jeremy, how did you get interested into cryptocurrency, and what about it interests you?
Yeah, for sure. So pretty much I've been in the space now going 6 years. To kind of give you some background on myself, I studied sport management in my undergrad, and now MBA in my grad studies. So sport management is obviously totally out of the sorts within this field, right? So how I got introduced to crypto primarily was a buddy of mine. One day he was like, "Hey, Jeremy, you could really make a lot of money off this thing." And then he introduced me to Coinbase, and then how to trade on Coinbase and buy. And this is when Coinbase was all clunky and it had that blue background. So, I started going into it, trading, looking at how different strategies and how to trade Bitcoin. And in essence, it was just more of like a get rich quick kind of thing, right? Like the trading aspect of things. But then obviously, like the majority of the people in the market back in 2017, 18, we lost a lot of money in the dip. So then now that kind of pushed me on and challenged me to kind of learn the underpinnings of what Bitcoin is built on, and the self-sovereignty aspects of it, right? How can it liberate not only an individual but whole economic structures, right? It totally challenges the status quo in all facets, right? So, I kept diving into the rabbit hole, started reading up on, all these complexities. And then here we are. I just ended up, you know, believing that blockchain, aside from the crypto aspect, blockchain has so many capabilities of expanding and disrupting industries worldwide in all of them, right? Stemming from supply chain all the way to, like Michael mentioned, bureaucracies of all sorts. It really has a lot of implications.
Yeah, man, that's interesting to hear that what drew you in, like many others, was the sort of get rich quick idea, right? The get rich quick mentality wants to bring us in, and we sort of go in for trading in a new kind of market, which is running 24 hours a day. And, you can sort of capitalize on these extreme swings in volatility, which is a good thing if you're a good trader, and a bad thing if you're someone who is really married to the idea that you're going to get rich quick.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, the sort of 2018 bear market, after we saw a lot of these coins hit their all-time high, especially Bitcoin going all the way up to 20,000. One of the good things about the 2018 bear market was that it discouraged a lot of participants who were just there for the get rich quick mentality from sticking around. Now, it's not necessarily a good thing to discourage people who are just trying to sort of store their wealth there or be an investor, but it is a good thing when you're discouraging projects that are, shilling empty promises, as it were, just so that they can get a lot of money. Because
Right.
what you find is that the people who are going to stick around in a very bloody bear market are those ones who want to put their head down and actually build out the technology that they see having, very important implications for the way that society is structured in the future, for the way that we rebuild the internet, which, connects us as we continue to globalize, and the way that we rebuild the financial institutions that we sort of work with. So all of that is to say that a bear market like that can be really good because it does a lot for people like us, by way of trying to rethink exactly why we want to be here in this space. And then all of a sudden it opens up this door where you see that there's actually a lot to this technology. There's a lot of technical people working in this space that are trying to do some amazing things, and it's all sort of married in this really interesting way with, political theories and different economic theories and sort of notions of democracy and what have you. And so I think that with that, we see that there's a big demand to actually start learning a lot about what's actually going on here underneath the hood. And so this brings me to my next point, is that there's this increasing demand for education, right? We all need to become more educated on exactly what this stuff is, why it's important. And that's why, in our case here at Mousebelt, we wanted to develop a university arm, because we realized that there was a lack of education around distributed ledger technologies, asking the philosophical questions of decentralization and what that has to do with our political concepts of democracy and governance and all of this stuff, right? We saw that there was a lack of education in our educational institutions. And so we wanted to do whatever we could to provide support around those students and professors and whoever that felt like they needed support in getting something like educational platform for this stuff off the ground. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about the state of blockchain in your region, and maybe more specifically at your institution, and kind of what are y'all doing with your club at Mount St. Mary's to help facilitate those types of conversations around blockchain education? Michael, we can start with you.
Okay. Well, at Mount St. Mary's, we were the first ones to start the club, and our entire concept was how do we introduce blockchain and this tech, this disruptive tech, to a predominantly an old university. Majority of the majors are revolving around liberal arts, with also a very small computer science group of students, right? We believe that the best way to do so is to, host, whether it was bi-weekly or a monthly meeting, and trying to introduce the ideas of blockchain. What is Bitcoin? How is it used? The philosophy of money, how money has changed over time, the politics and the governance behind these concepts. And with the corona stuff, we weren't able as much to have semesters basically over. What we want to do moving forward is attempt to have virtual conference calls or meetings, and being able to bring other blockchain enthusiasts or blockchain presidents from different universities to come to this to come to our university and speak to students, and bring I guess more of a outside perspective there. And the last thing I'd say is how we can integrate it down the line into the general DC area cohort of other blockchain clubs that exist in the DC area, because compared to DC and Maryland and Virginia, we don't have that many clubs compared to the West or the Northeast. So we would like to be able to grow on that kind of scale. And Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you're pretty solid. I mean, when we first, like Michael mentioned, when we first started this club, it was pretty much us two that were really into this technology, into this space, if you will, right? And on campus is actually really funny because we were the only two people that were well known to be like
This is crypto enthusiast.
and evangelizing it, right? It's like
Yeah.
we were just gloating about it, like, oh, blockchain could be used in this, or blockchain could be used in that. And then a lot of professors and students are like, they're like, what the heck are you guys talking about? Like, what's a blockchain, right? So then we started the club, and what we started noticing is how, to us, is easy, right? Because we're passionate about this field. We really love how it challenges all philosophies of all fields, right? When it comes to economic philosophies, to even just the rationality of things. How is it a viable option to be used in the real world? Is there a use case for it? And again, we understand it, but for the layman, if you will, they're like, it's so complex. Like describing what the internet was back in the early 2000s. It's like, what the heck is an email? So it's like Michael said, we had to kind of break it down and explain, okay, let's talk about the experiment of money. What is money? Where we came from salt and seashells to gold, and then now we're paperback. All right, now where are we? And then now that starts stimulating a train of thought of, okay, so we don't really have this solidified, this whole money thing. What the heck is that? And then we introduce blockchain and the various aspects and complexities that are built upon that. So yeah, long story short, we're just trying to provoke people's mindset into what is really going on and how can they just implement in their daily lives and daily activities. Yeah, I kind of went on a rant there, so I'm sorry.
No, it's great. Do you recall the first time that you heard something that a professor of yours said, or maybe just a peer? Do you remember the first time that you had suggested that maybe blockchain would be like a solution to some problem, or what was really the first time that you had to throw that out there and they sort of raised eyebrows, or they were puzzled by what you were saying? Do you?
For sure. For sure. I remember really fondly, I'm in the gym one day, you know, I'm just getting my workout in, and a really cool professor that I was cool with at the time, still am. And I was studying this one project that's called Poet. And pretty much what that project does is it timestamps any work that is done on the internet, right? So it avoids plagiarism or anything, kind of like what us college students use, the Turn It In system, right? You turn it in and then it scans your material, see if you copied and pasted it, how much of it has been plagiarized, so on and so forth. So I bring it up to the professor. I'm like, hey, I think this project could be really cool to integrate it into the university's, you know, academic ecosystem. You know, now it's a cheaper alternative. You don't have to pay Turnitin X amount of money, however much you pay them on a yearly or contractual subscription. It's completely decentralized or distributed in the sense that not only the students have access, but professors could go in and check the validity and authenticity of the work. And he was just mind boggled. He was like, oh crap, like, what is this called? So, you know, we just, again, that kind of got him into the whole rabbit hole of blockchain. And then he came back to me and told me a couple ideas, and yeah, he just kept challenging each other. So that's kind of the first instance in which I was like, okay, this could be used on a higher ed level.
Yeah, it's great. It's like a sort of breakthrough moment for yourself, I would imagine, just to see that you're like, oh, I've actually got this stuff down to where I can actually identify a real use case here.
Yeah, but I was dubbed crazy though. I was. I mean, you know, that doesn't stray from the fact that, you know, a lot of professors still look at me like I have three heads. Like, what the heck is this kid talking about? So it's like it was really, it's really interesting. I'll say that.
First they doubt you, then they hate you, and then they, oh, how's that
They want
go?
to be you.
They want to be you, and they want to join you.
Exactly.
Okay, so so then what sort of projects are y'all involved in now? You know, I know that y'all are both co-founders of Mass Adoption, your LLC. Maybe you want to tell me a little bit about that. What is Mass Adoption, and what are y'all's respective roles there?
So we're going to start off. Mass Adoption is an education platform to help people understand what blockchain and cryptocurrencies are, whether they are a simple user or a business that would like to adopt and integrate that into their whether it's their revenue, how they collect their funds, or how, you know, they send information in any way aspect. If they want to integrate it on their supply chain, we would like to help them understand, do the research and help them understand where it could be implemented, and then the next step would be assisting them in actually creating that process. As of right now, Jeremy and I have been doing a lot of research on various projects. Jeremy has been doing actually collaborative work with various different projects like token sets. And me, on the other hand, I've been looking into more personal projects that people are working on, people that I know. For an example, a friend of mine who works for Native Hemp, which is a CBD company based out of Maryland, asked me to help him figure out a way to track their CBD from where it's coming from their farmer to when it was packaged, all on a QR code where they can trace this information. And as of right now, we're doing the research for it, trying to figure out who in the game is already doing that and those kind of things. Another thing that I'm working on is a clothing line a friend of mine is creating called Wear My Heart on My Sleeve. And the concept is to essentially tokenize his clothing and put a ERC20 token per item that he is creating. What I'm helping him try to understand is how could your token be a value that can be traded in your whole entire with your products, and have the value of the token grow, rather than creating one token and having that represent one item of clothing. Then, it's like trying to help him understand the tokenomics of how you can integrate something. How can you create your token and that be distributed, received, and sent, but also represent your clothing. So those are the kind of things that I've been working on in the past couple weeks. And Jeremy, you can brief him on what you've been working on.
Yeah. So pretty much, like Michael said, mass adoption is primarily an education first or organization, a company. Our goal is to expedite and to also make people understand that blockchain tech and cryptocurrency projects have real use case, and you can actually integrate it into your daily activities. Me primarily, I'm obviously, you see, I'm big on decentralized finance, but now the moniker of DeFi, right, is primarily within the Ethereum space, and what we're trying to do is not only introduce people to Ethereum-based products or projects, I should say, such as token sets, Ampleforth, Balancer, Uniswap, a whole ecosystem, right, of platforms and projects that have incredible potential. It's also to make people understand that it's not just Ethereum. Bitcoin is the originator of decentralized finance, right? As far as liberation goes. So it's kind of making people aware. So then with that being said, yeah, I've been collaborating with token sets. I'm actually a social trader on the token set platform, working closely with Blockchain Education Network, Block Geeks, and Mouseville University, just really trying to branch out and make collaborative efforts to let people know that this has real use case, and that you could, in essence, it's separating people and banks, right? Money from banks. That's pretty much what this entire thing is about, is the self-sovereignty aspect of things, and that's what we're trying to institute and make aware. So yeah, that's where we're at, man. That's the goal.
Well, I know that I've certainly learned a lot from you guys, especially about the decentralized finance ecosystem that's been growing on Ethereum. And so I thank you for that. And we're starting to run out of time here, so maybe we can just close on this. I would like to know how the both of you think we might reimagine 2020. It's been a crazy year in a lot of respects. Already only 4 months into it, starting the 5th month here. So how do you feel like we go forward from here? And do you have any, predictions for cryptocurrency and blockchain in the future under the same kind of rubric? What are you guys thinking?
Oh man.
I think that's a great question. And it's funny how the name of the conference is Reimagine, because that's literally what we, that's our foundation. Is our slogan is let's change perspective. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, is in essence, reimagine what our daily activities would be. And I think, given the circumstances where we're at with this whole coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic, we have to reimagine our future going forward, right? It's so I see huge potentiality when it comes to blockchain use case. I mean, we're seeing it in all economies throughout the world, especially now with all this quantitative easing and turmoil that's going on. We're going to see a totally new opinion and sentiment when it comes to monetary policy. That's primarily what I'm thinking about, the economic aspects of things and how countries and people in general will view money. That's going to be the turning point. The turning point is, what is money going forward, and how can I use it to benefit myself and and my funds and my assets? How can I secure my assets going forward? I think that is a question that's going to be continuously challenged until we get everything right. So that's my reimagination of things going 2020. There it is.
Reimagining money. It's an important question there. What is money? Michael, how about you?
I think being able to reimagine 2020 is going to consist of doing a lot of what we are already doing, which is adapting to the circumstances. As of right now, you got millions of conference calls happening on Zoom, people refining a new way to relocate within their own home and do work. The fact that we're able to understand that work can be done from home versus people not knowing that they can have a full-time or a part-time job from their laptop. I think that's like one of the biggest stepping stones or shifts that I've seen in the past 3-4 months. But when it comes to the blockchain space, I really agree with what Jeremy just finished off saying, being able to reimagining how we view money, how we operate, how we vote, all these things that are challenging us. How many businesses or industries operate on just a cash-based system? I mean, that is ridiculous, right? These are the things that we are forced to reimagine moving forward within not just 2020, but just using this technology. You mentioned, imagine 15, 20 years ago, Jerry mentioned what was email then, right? Imagine teaching people that. That's why I feel like we're teaching people about wallets and how to send and receive. Those are the things that I think that we are just breaking ice on.
Boom.
Great. Well, Jeremy, Michael, I really appreciate both of you taking some time to share your thoughts on blockchain and cryptocurrency and the need for education in the space, as well as your thoughts on how we can reimagine things going forward. Before we sign off here, is there any website or any place that people who are tuning in can go to learn more about mass adoption?
Yeah, so right now we're building out the website. It should be coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. But we're always available on Twitter. That's primarily where we're at. At least you could follow the Mass Adoption Twitter account. Is Mass Adoption LLC, at Mass Adoption LLC on Twitter. And you could follow our individual Twitter accounts as well. Mine, for instance, is Guz_Mass_Adopt, and Michael is Ask Me About Bitcoin, right?
Yep, at Michael Abraha 7.
There it is.
Beautiful. All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So.
Coming up next. Stay tuned to learn more about the state of the art in blockchain and cryptocurrency technology. Reimagine 2020.